Let's be real, there's a lot of hype out there about AI. So for this explainer, we're going to forget all that and just follow the data. A new report from Epoch AI gives us a hard numbers forecast for what AI can actually do by 2030. And honestly, the trends are pointing to something pretty extraordinary.
So what will AI really be able to do in the next few years? Well, the answer, if you look at the data, is way less mysterious than you might think. It actually all boils down to one single, predictable factor.
And what's so fascinating here is that this entire forecast is basically built on one idea, that one single, measurable thing is driving almost all the progress we're seeing in AI. And that one thing is the engine behind absolutely everything.
So what is this engine? We're going to call it the AI scaling engine. Let's pop the hood and see what makes this thing run. It all comes down to something called compute scaling, and the core idea is actually super simple. The main driver of AI getting smarter is just throwing more and more raw computational power at the problem. More processing, more calculations. Basically, more power equals more progress. This is the engine.
And you know, this isn't some brand new theory. It's a core principle in AI research called the bitter lesson. And the lesson is this. For decades, researchers kept finding that trying to design really clever, human-like algorithms just wasn't as effective as simply using raw, brute force computation. It turns out, scale is what wins, by a long shot.
Okay, so if the engine of progress is just more and more compute, well, the next question is pretty obvious, right? What does it take to fuel an engine like that? The scale of the answer is, well, it's almost hard to wrap your head around. Let's actually put some numbers on it. The data predicts that by 2030, the resources we're going to need to keep this engine running at full blast will be truly staggering, and it all starts with the compute itself. 1,000 times. You heard that right. Following the current trends, the biggest AI models of 2030 will be trained with 1,000 times the computational power of today's best models. Just think about GPT-4, and now imagine a training process 1,000 times more intense. That is the leap we are talking about.
And the price tag to build the hardware for that? Get this. $200 billion. To put that into perspective, that's nearly 1% of the entire US GDP today, just for a single top-of-the-line AI training center.
And the electricity to run it? A single training run in 2030 will need around 10 gigawatts. That's enough to power a large city. Let that sink in for a second. One AI model will be eating up the same amount of power as an entire city. So we're building this incredibly powerful, unbelievably expensive, and power-hungry engine for a reason. What's the payoff? Let's look at the destination, at the new scientific frontiers this engine is going to unlock. So with all this power, where are we actually headed? Well, the report predicts that the most dramatic impact is going to be in science and research, where AI is on the verge of becoming an absolutely indispensable tool. And the progress is expected to happen fast. Based on the trends we're seeing, by 2026, AI agents could be solving real-world software problems all on their own. A year later, in 2027, they could be tackling expert-level math. And by 2030, the focus shifts to molecular biology, with AI answering complex questions that could totally revolutionize research.
And the breakthroughs won't stop there. Think of tools like AlphaFold, but on steroids, getting even better at predicting biology. Or AI improving weather forecasts, especially for those really extreme events. In pretty much every field, AI assistants are going to speed up R&D by synthesizing massive amounts of scientific papers almost instantly.
Okay, so let's pull back from the lab and ask the big question. What does this all mean for us? How will these new capabilities really reshape our economy and, our world?
So the report makes this really stunning claim, and it's grounded in data. By 2030, AI's economic impact is going to be comparable to the internet. Just think about that for a second. We are on the cusp of a shift just as huge and fundamental as the one that completely defined the last 30 years.
So what does that look like in real terms? Well, even with just modest automation, say AI handling about 10% of remote work, we could see a GDP boost of 1 to 2%. That's trillions of dollars. But if we hit widespread automation, with AI covering half of those tasks, the economy could grow by 6 to 10%. That's a massive, massive expansion.
But there's a really crucial catch here, a growing divide. The report warns that while AI is set to create this incredible abundance of digital stuff, ideas, code, analysis, progress in the physical world just isn't going to keep up. Building labs, running experiments, manufacturing things, All that is getting left in the dust.
And that leaves us with the big question for the next decade. The data is pretty clear. Our digital world is about to be completely transformed by AI. But the physical world, that's a different story. So as we look towards 2030, the real challenge becomes this. What will it take for AI's revolution to transform not just our screens, but our actual physical reality?